The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by DraftKings 2021 British Open DraftKings picks and preview the kickoff to Open Championship Week on Mayo Media Network. We'll have all of my shows, which will be running from today, which is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Friday for a Cut Sweats Live. That one is up in the air at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to be sweating the cut like mid-afternoon with everyone out there. Plus, the Fantasy Golf Degenerates, their show will be out Monday evening. European Tour Picks and Bet Show, shockingly enough, are also covering the British Open. That is out Monday night, so subscribe to Mayo Media Network right now on YouTube, okay? Thank you for doing that. Also, smash the like button to the episode in the comment section. Give me your first initial impression of the must-play guy on the DraftKings slate this week. And if you want to get into a draw for $1, I'm giving away close to $1,500 worth of giveaways this week for the British Open. There are two ways to enter in today's show. First thing you need to do is subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Don't even care if you listen to audio podcasts, but you do that. And on Apple Podcasts, I put the link down in the description, so to make it super easy on you. Leave a 5-star rating, a review, something nice about the show. You can lie if you have to. And leave your Twitter handle or email address. You do that, you're in a draw for the cash giveaways. I'll have a Twitter giveaway as well coming out on Tuesday, I believe. And if you want to get into one of those other cash draws, the link to the free Mayo Media newsletter, which will have a ton of Open Championship coverage, is down in the description as well. It's free to join, so just go do that and boom, you're in the draw. You do both, because the other one takes like 20 seconds, you'll have 2 entries, and maybe you'll win twice and win like $400 or something like that. You'll have all of the money to enter all of the contests on DraftKings this week. Additionally, fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off at fantasynational.com. The most customizable stat engine on the planet, all the tools that you need if you like researching your own picks. Boy, is that the site for you. fantasynational.com/Mayo. That will get you 20% off. Additionally, if you enjoy researching the NFL, a brand new site has popped up, runthesims.com. It's like Fantasy National, but for football. And football season is upon us. Go check that out right now. It is free for the entire month, so go play around on the site. There's optimizers, customizable projections, simulations, everything that you'll need for football season and in season up there right now. runthesims.com/Mayo if you want to get in on the founding membership where you can lock in your price for life. But hey, I think you should just go test it out right now. You can find all of that information down in the description, as you can find the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League, 5,000 spots available, $15 to play, no rake, 3 max entry, flat payouts. It's the best tournament on DraftKings, better than the Millionaire Maker, so go join that now before it's completely full, which it's going to be rather quickly. Go reserve your spot today, okay? Enough of that. Ben Rasa from awesemo.com is on the line. It's the final major, man. It's not the end of golf season, but it's really the end of golf season.
That's well said. Yeah, not the end, but kind of the end. It feels, I mean, we didn't get a British Open last year, so this has been a long, crowning for Shane Lowry. I'm excited to get back across and talk about some links golf.
This is my favorite tournament of the year to watch. Is it the best tournament? I mean, sometimes it really is. But in terms of my viewing experience, I think the TV coverage for it is the best. Obviously, when you get into the digital landscape with the Masters and the app, that is actually the best. But if you're just someone who wants to sit down and watch golf on TV, you don't want to have 5 secondary screens, you don't want to have to stream featured groups through your computer or through your app, they do it right for this. Like, NBC owns the rights. They own Golf Channel. Like, First Tee is going to be on Golf Channel at 1:30 a.m. in the morning on Thursday. That's lock, by the way, if people are wondering about that. The Open app is nowhere near the Masters, but it's better than the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship app, unless somehow it has regressed, which really wouldn't shock me because it's a golf app. But it wasn't horrible last time.
No, this is great coverage. They do, I believe nothing has changed. Like, guys tee off literally all day because they only go off the front. It's different. It's just a different feel. Obviously, the yellow scoreboards and whatnot, staple of it. But I love this event. It's very difficult when we get into the DFS side of things. But from viewing, doesn't beat. You can't get better than this.
Well, let's talk about the course. We have Royal St. George's. It is a par 70. It's just a shade over 7,200 yards. They've actually decreased the length of the course. And if you go and listen to what they expect the RNA to do this week, is probably bump up the tee boxes on some of the holes that, with the wind is right with you, then you might be able to drive some of these par fours. The problem is if you miss the green trying to drive it, you might take a 6 because conditions can get a little bit tough. I watched the final round when Darren Clark won in 2012. That was the last time it was here. Ben Curtis won the time before that in 2003. So I do believe this is probably the most difficult on average of the British Open courses in the rotation. And then if you get some wind and some rain, that really gets amplified. But even in benign conditions, obviously it will play a lot easier than gale force winds, but it's still pretty hard either way.
Definitely tricky, no doubt about it. And that's the fascinating, I love courses like this because you look and it's not with length, it's just with layout. Little weird in the fairways. We're going to get to that. There's some awkward bounces and whatnot, but I love that you can be aggressive, but if you are a little offline, you're going to be punished in a big way.
I'm going to go over the entire course and the stats to look at and what I am looking for on the British Open Research Show, which will drop on Sunday, where I do my walkthrough of fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off, by the way. And then I'll go hole by hole. We can take a look at the course. And the one thing that you're really going to notice is there is no flat lie on this course anywhere. And I'm ahead of the game this week, Ben, because I got COVID vaccine sick for a day and didn't do my write-up for John Deere. And I just immediately started doing British Open research. So I have my write-up done for that. Yeah. And I think that the player that is going to win here is one, probably has some links experience. I don't think that is imperative. But what I mean by links experience is they need to be the type of player who isn't scared to not go after a pin, but to play their approach shots 3 feet up in the hill to the rough to the left of the green, knowing that it's going to knock the ball down and stop it pin high, but still have enough momentum to roll off that hill and onto the green. Like if you're around greenside to get it close to the hole, you might have to play it 50 feet by the hole, let it roll back one of these gigantic hills to get it to stop. You're going to need to have an element of creativity in your game. I truly believe that this week. Unless conditions are so benign, Justin Thomas puts everything to 2 feet, and that's the end of the game, him and Morikawa. I just don't think it's ever going to play like that. Like there's going to be putting from off the green in a lot of situations. You're going to get a bad bounce into fescue, and your ball's going to be hossled, and there's literally nothing that you can do about that, and you have to take your medicine. And that really points to one guy in particular that I have in my mind, maybe two when we get down to it, and we'll get to that in a second. But that's sort of the player that I'm thinking about for this course because I don't think the distance matters all that much. I think it is actually the fairest going into the tournament of any of the majors for any of the skill sets, especially at this course. The only thing that can really make it unfair is if we get a 2016 situation where one side of the wave gets completely wiped out because it was horrendous weather, and then the other side, it was great conditions.
That's the one element that, later in the week we're going to have to plan for. There's nothing you can really do about it. We've seen that. And when you have tee times all day like this, there's going to be some micro stacking and things like that come into play, but it does level the playing field. There's definitely more art than science at a British Open. I guess we just give Spieth the trophy now. This sounds like him and not Bryson when I say that. But yeah, I mean, you definitely have to do things that you wouldn't normally do. You have to play shots maybe you wouldn't normally play, and you certainly have to adapt to what's going to be on the fly conditions.
Well, looking at the conditions right now, they actually seem rather benign. There's no rain. Like the highest wind we're going to get is like 18-mile-per-hour gusts when the guys first hit the course in the morning on Thursday. Now, this is 5 days out from the tournament, and where this is situated 200 meters from the coast, just above the Strait of Dover, like it's going to be incredibly difficult to predict either way. Like weather, on one hand, very difficult anyway. Putting it on the coast where conditions can change just like that is going to be even more difficult when you're trying to project it out. I always like your idea of like, don't worry about Friday, don't worry about Saturday or Sunday when you're staying up late. And you can do that for this one because it starts at 1:35 a.m. Eastern time if you want to stay up for it. Like you're putting in lineups at midnight, check the weather then. and try to figure out like the first 8 hours. If that can be somewhat accurate, you could give yourself a gigantic advantage. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that, or maybe it does, and I'm paying attention to it, and I can take advantage of it. But I do think that is a critical element of lineup building this week. So what we say here could be amended by Wednesday. Like, I'm going to have the core guys that I like, but some things can change once you see a weather report.
They're going to change no matter what. There's no doubt. You still have, you can plan on who you want and kind of guys that you have an eye on, but it has to fit the puzzle pieces. And yes, just to reiterate that, what I observed with the weather Thursday morning means so much more than what they're saying about Friday afternoon, because there is no late swap in golf. There's no reacting on the fly. You have to plan ahead, and we can only do what we can do. So Thursday AM, that is what I will try to lean heaviest on and then go from there.
Millions and millions of dollars are up for grabs on DraftKings this week. I want to win some. Ben wants to win some. And there's even more millions to go around for all of you out there. Maybe we can all win millions together. That would be very nice. We'll see if that happens. It hasn't happened yet, but if we play this long, yeah, we're due. It has not happened that everyone watching the show plus the two of us have all won millions of dollars at the same time. Hopefully we can rectify that this week. Looking at the very top of the board in terms of pricing, Jon Rahm, the favorite at $11,300, $10,900 for Rory, Brooks at $10,700, Dustin at $10,400, Xander at an even $10,000. The pricing is very soft on DraftKings this week, and there's going to be a big lean, especially with how well he is playing at the Scottish Open. We're recording before the conclusion of that, but Rahm just seems to be firing on all cylinders right now. I want to say I want to go full fade because he's so expensive, but at the same time, I look at him like, if I look above $10,000, the two guys that stick out to me as the ones that I trust are Rahm and Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, Rahm he's doing it. Most people, it was a matter of time. He's broken through and he's sustained it so far. So worthy favorite, worthy 11-3. I have no problem with anything. Like most things, ownership, tee time, those will be little edges to determine how much I want. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, Rahm makes a lot of sense. Certainly Brooks, he's no slouch at links courses. The splits are very good in his favor. Always shows up in majors. I have no problem there. So I'm drawn to those guys. DJ's the toughest one. He's probably fifth of the five when I look at the 10K plus options. And then you've got Rory and Xander, who I'm pretty comfortable with, but I don't know if I'd call them priorities either.
Well, Rory has a very good Open Championship record. Obviously, he's won an Open Championship, and he's one of three players in the field with 3 top 10 finishes over the past 5 British Opens. Brooks Koepka is another one. We'll get to the third guy, who is my pick to win this tournament a little bit later, but those two are both up there. Like, they have proven themselves on courses like this. I mean, Brooks for sure is going in my lineup. This is just a nice rebound spot for Brooks, I think. And I think a lot of people forget that he broke in playing Challenger Tour and Euro Tour before coming over to America. That's how we were able to get him at such nice numbers when he first joined the PGA Tour, because only people really paying attention knew who he was.
Yeah, there's a couple guys in this field that we know more on the PGA Tour, but they got their start or got some reps over in Europe, and that will pay dividends this week. So I have no problem with that. Rory certainly can hold up in links golf. He did. I would say if conditions are really benign, I think that probably helps Rory. I never envision him in an absolute torture chamber, but right now when we're filming this, that doesn't look to be the case anyway. So yeah, Rory's is fine. I think Rahm's the clear favorite, but no problem taking some savings.
I think for the price point, Brooks is going to be my most owned guy above $10,000. I just can't do it with Dustin. Maybe he can right the wrongs of 2011. It's not like he was going to win, but as soon as he goes out of bounds on that par 5 on the back, Darren Clarke is the automatic winner of that tournament. Like, that was the end of it. Yeah, his approach shot. That par 5 on the back, like, there's only 2 par 5s on this course. The one on the front nine, number 7, you can make eagle on that. I wouldn't say no problem, but it's not the most difficult thing on the world. The one on the back is one of the hardest par 5s in the world. It is played over par, both in 2003 and in 2011. So that's no gimme hole coming in. Frankly, the final 4 holes of this course are absolutely just, they're a nightmare, and guys are going to blow up coming in. You need to be doing your scoring on the front and holding it together on the back. That's sort of the way that this course is set up. So I just don't see it with Dustin right now. And that doesn't mean he can't go out and win, but if we're nitpicking between all these guys, like, he's clearly behind all of them at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. And unless ownership really swings to where you're getting some value, I'll take even Xander, who's playing, he's got his win drought. But other than that, everyone was talking about Rahm on a big win drought. And now look, he was still really, really crisp with the ball striking at the US Open. He always shows up in majors. If you wanted to go quote unquote, I mean, not super balanced because we're still talking about a 10K guy. Xander is still playing quality golf.
Yeah, Xander's never missed a cut at a British Open. He has 2 top 20s. He has a runner-up. That was the year that Molinari ended up winning 3 years ago, 2 Opens ago now. Looking pretty good at the Scottish Open. So, yeah, I think that his around the green game has improved so much that I think that he's a real threat to win this. And I think that kind of comes down to what I want to be doing. Do I want to go Rahm and Brooks? Then I probably can't afford Xander, even in my lineups, because there's guys in the 9s that I like. Or do I just say Brooks, Xander, those are my 2 guys, and I have to X out the other ones? I mean, that's terrifying, not getting to play Rahm, but I'm rarely on Xander, and this week I can really see it for him. I think that he's just going to be a really good link-style player.
I mean, I'm the kiss of death with Xander. I never get him right, but I'd see it as well. He sets up well, not a ton of buzz because, again, people... I think there's some recency bias that not that he's playing horrible, but he's certainly not firing on all cylinders. And the price is very reasonable. You mentioned soft pricing. You're able to double up here. You're certainly able to start with him and still get a 9K guy. A lot of options when you look at the top this week.
If you had to guess, what do you think that Dustin's ownership is going to be? I'm going to say 7%.
I was going to say 8%. Yeah, I think that's just shy of 10% would be my guess.
Would that be low enough for you to be like, well, I'm all in on Dustin now and hopefully he wins? Because it wouldn't be for me.
No, me neither. I mean, of course that's nice, but it would have to be something really unforeseen for me. That's still ownership, and you have 4 good options around him. It's not like it's a pivot directly off one guy. There's a lot of other things I'd rather do.
Do you think that Rahm or Xander will end up being the highest owned of the 10K guys? Because you have the most expensive and the best player, or the cheapest but still good of the range?
I think given what's happening in Scotland is going to solidify that Rahm's going to be really popular because there's soft pricing. There's a couple names that I was stunned to see where they were priced, and I think all that funnels to Rahm.
When you spoke about the different players who had this like sneaky European tour experience and how you like that, is this a case that you're building for Emiliano Grillo already?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. I didn't want to get to him right at the beginning, but another player like Brooks, who, when we came over,
another player like Brooks.
Yeah. That's where obviously interchangeable resumes and whatnot, but yeah, Grillo got some reps in those bunkers. So I'm sure with his short game, there'll be 0 issues, but we'll get there when we get there.
9K range. It kicks off with big, beefy Bryson at $9,900. I think he's sort of the skeleton key this week of figuring out what to do with him, because I just have no clue how he's going to approach this. Spieth at 9.7, JT at 9.6, who's having a nice go over in Scotland right now. Louis at 9.3, Morikawa rallied to make the cut. Hovland coming off a win in Germany. I think that was in Germany. $9,100. And then Tyrrell Hatton, a guy who is, I mean, if we're going to qualify any of these players as like links specialist, he is a links specialist. He's won the Alfred Dunhill twice. Most of his best performances in Europe have come on link style courses, but I'm throwing it out there. The way that I describe this course, the skill set that's required, and if you just look at actual form of players coming into this event, Spieth is the winner.
Yeah, I mean, when you were describing it up at the top, it's hard not to picture, his Open win and the stuff that he does and working out of crazy trouble. And, you can look at it a couple of ways. In recent tournaments, he's had a round where he really didn't have it. And then you look at the totality of it, he's find ways to combat that and grind back. Certainly the tee to green numbers are beyond fixed. He's just playing fantastic. So I get it. I guess I'm going to ask you, how popular do you think he's going to be?
I think that he's going to be very popular. So Rahm Spieth is probably going to be the way that a lot of people construct their lineups. There is an out to this, though. If Thomas rallies back and wins the Scottish Open.
I hope that doesn't happen because I do like JT. I think there's, one of the things you can always plan for the weather, but furthermore, you can just plan for how hard it is. And you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, and I think it's super live that there's a chance that you can really attack and give me JT with some wedges. I know the putter is still an issue, but if it plays easier, if you're going to tell me the winner is 10 under, 11 under, which I'd say is unlikely, but that's a big boost to a guy like JT for me, and I will adjust accordingly.
I caught Spieth at a 22-1 before we came on airing, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. This is the best number I've seen. I don't think that it gets better. I think that he's going to be a popular bet. I'm okay with that. I have a lot of confidence at him at this course because with the way that his game is being played right now, I suppose there are PGA championships that could line up for him pretty well. Like the Masters, he's always going to be good at the Masters, but he doesn't necessarily have exactly the right type of skill set, despite all the success that he's had there, to really make it an easy task for himself to go win the Masters. The U.S. Open, I mean, he might not be relevant again at the U.S. Open unless he adds a bunch of distance or they change how they set up those courses. The Open Championship is kind of the one that he is going to continue to play till the time he is 60. And it feels like he'll have one of these Tom Watson moments when he's 57 years old because of the type of game that he has. And it's been covered up because Phil won a major and you have Brooks versus Bryson and Rahm has been so scorching hot. But Spieth, since his win at Valero, has actually been astonishingly good. People think that he's sort of regressed a little bit because he was so good earlier in the year. It peaked with the win, and now people are like, yeah, Spieth's back, but like we're not really talking about him anymore. In every start since Valero, that win, there's been 6 of them. He's gained off the tee, on approach, and around the green in every 6 of those tournaments. Sometimes the putter is hot, sometimes the putter is not, but I just see the way that he's setting up. He is also the other one, along with Rory and Brooks, who has 3 top 10s in the last 5 Open Championships. And one of those came when he was playing horrible, and he still managed to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, even going to Augusta, I think the one thing that you can say that why Spieth is good there, not the only reason, but one of them, it correlates, is that imagination. It's working in and out of trouble around the greens, things like that. Obviously, these greens are much, much, much slower, but Spieth will be ready. I feel pretty confident about that. I think if you're playing cash, of course, tournaments, it's not to say I'm not going to get to Spieth. I do think that Bryson, I don't think it's a given. I know we look and right now it hasn't been good. I don't think it's a given that Bryson and British Opens aren't going to mix long term. I think he just has to figure out exactly how to approach it.
Well, I think there is a lot of strategy to this course. Like even reading over what the groundskeepers saying about how they've set everything up, and there was just so much talk of Bryson. It's like they tried to Bryson-proof the place. But there's a couple par 4s that he even admitted. He's like, if the wind's at his back, he's going to get to them. And he's probably the only guy that's going to get to them. The issue then becomes, if you miss the green, what happens then? And that's where this course gets so incredibly tricky, is getting yourself out of these weird situations. And that's why I have confidence in someone like Spieth that he'll figure out the right path. The weird thing is people think about Bryson as being so robotic and how he approaches everything. He is an excellent strategist off the tee when he wants to be. And you can just go back and look at things like the Players' Championship from this year, where he completely altered his game 1 week after winning at API, taking that on in a certain way, and he was right. Now, he doesn't always get the strategy right, but I feel like with Bryson, apropos to all of the other people in the field, like he has a real game plan going into this. And if he can figure out sort of the key to playing good in a British Open, and that might be hitting 5-iron off of every tee, he wouldn't be afraid to do it. He is not married to the driver. It's just, can the rest of his game follow along with that if he has to get himself out of trouble?
Yeah, I'm more worried about, we've already talked several times how things can flip on the fly. That Bryson at times, it seems like he gets off track or he can't audible. He has a plan. He's super content with it. And something dictates that he maybe should change it up. And he has difficulty working in and out of that. I worry about a blow up hole to an extreme degree or something like that. But I think if his ownership is based on his course history, in terms of British Open history, it could be an interesting pivot off what's going to be a rightfully so popular Spieth and a popular Xander.
So those two guys we talked about, Bryson and Dustin, probably going to be the 2 lower owned guys from this top end. Would you feel better blindly going after Dustin or blindly going after Bryson if there's an ownership discount on them?
To me, it would be Bryson. $500 difference. I think that Bryson is more trying to figure it out. Not that Dustin Johnson, like I said, we can handle an Open, and he's not playing horrendous. It's not the best of his powers, but I still think that Bryson maybe is a little, people are too quick to discard him this week.
What are you doing with the rest of the 9Ks? Because I'm not like off Justin Thomas by any means, but I do think that a win, like a comeback win, I mean, he's in the mix. He's like 3 shots back after 36 holes at the Scottish Open as we record this. Like, he can win. Trust me. I have money on him too, so I kind of hope that he goes and wins. But like starting your teams with Spieth and Thomas, like that's probably a way to get around their high ownership if you really wanted to, because I doubt that Spieth will be the first man in a lot of lineups. Like both those guys' pricing leads me to believe they will be the second man in most people's lineups, which if you play them together, then even if they're both 25% owned, that combination itself isn't all that popular.
No doubt about it. Like Thomas, the guy that's giving me the most trouble is, I mean, I love him in life, and I don't know if it's just like how many times can he show up with this putter. Usti's not overpriced considering what he's been doing, but I don't know. I'm a little scared to click his name in when I can take Hatton or JT or Spieth.
He's had a really mixed bag at Open Championships. Essentially, if it's not at St. Andrews, he's been okay. That's it, really? Like, not worth this price is kind of where I'm going.
I don't know. It's so tough with him because now, you know, he's priced up and he's not going to be 1% owned Louis anymore. And he hasn't been, and he's been paying it off. I think though, when I look at it, in all honesty, I would rather just go get JT or Spieth. I like Hatton. Morikawa is tied a little to Justin Thomas in the sense I think it benefits if it's easier. Hovland's the one I don't know what to do. That's a tough one for me.
The weird thing with Hovland is no matter how poorly he putts or how poorly he scrambles, is just his ball striking seems to he makes enough birdies at courses where other people aren't making birdies that it kind of evens everything out. I don't know if this is too big of a leap for him at a course like this, but I wouldn't be super surprised. I do worry that he might suffer the Bryson sort of syndrome here, is that we're going to look up and be like, oh, Victor made an 8. Great.
Yeah, and I don't know. I tend to be more apt to live with something like that because when you talk about outscoring your placement points, you're normally talking about guys, lower in salary, but it still helps. Every birdie helps, and he is a good scorer, aggressive. I probably do correlate him to Bryson as well, but I think I still worry. He's made strides, no doubt about it, around the green, but I still, it's something like this. I think he could be exposed with some of those shortcomings.
And if it does, it really depends on how you want to structure your teams. Because if it gets windy and it gets gusty, I don't know how he's going to play in those sorts of conditions, like good or bad. But I know that Hatton knows how to get around links courses when there's gusty winds out. He's going to take out a fucking 4-iron and play it off a dune to the left and roll it up onto the green. Like, that's going to be his game.
Yeah, he's built for this. I mean, he's done it. He's done it many, many times. He's a reasonable price. And the next, Reed is built for that. I can't let this little range right here. If you can get 2 or 3 or 4 of these guys, I would feel kind of comfortable sacrificing some of the top for this kind of secondary range.
Well, in the past 4 years, or past 4 opens, I want to say past 4 years, but obviously there wasn't one last year. 6th, 51st, miscut, and a 5th for Hatton. And in 2019, he was approaching kind of the player that he is at the moment. But the guy's still a fringe top 10 player in the world. He's not showing it at the moment, but he has also completely altered his schedule to play, a full-time PGA Tour schedule by and large. And he's not playing a lot of the courses where he piled up a lot of those points. Like, he won at API, that's great. But he's over in Scotland this time around, but it's not like he's playing the Betfred Masters and that kind of thing where those are the courses where he's going to win. And this course is kind of like those ones.
Yeah, this is back. There's a lot of guys. He's transcended some of it because he's a legitimate top end player, but there's a bunch of guys in this field I'm very interested who made the leap from Europe, got over here, and the EVRs of the world. And now they kind of, I don't want to say go home because he's from South Africa, but I'm very interested to see what those guys do getting a quote unquote home game.
Well, Patrick Cantlay is up next, and the top guy in the $8,000 range at $8,900. Patrick Cantlay, Harris English, and Eric Van Rooyen didn't qualify for my have made every cut minimum 3 starts in the past 5 Open Championships, but they're all 2 for 2 over the past 5 years. So EVR you can throw in there. You probably saw that as well. But Cantlay, Reed, Matsuyama coming off COVID, Casey, Zalatoris, Finau, Webb, Scheffler. had a nice nice little Friday at the Scottish Open. He was 8 under. Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, who was runner-up at the last Open Championship. Then you got Justin Rose at $8,000. Even looking at the leaderboard last time, I mean, Darren Clark wins, so you know old people can win at this course. But like Phil wasn't young then in 2011, and he was the one making a pretty big run. Thomas Bjorn was still at the top. It was like these late 30, early 40s guys. Then you had Dustin, then you had Ricky thrown in the mix as well, and they all kind of petered out towards the end. But I see someone like Rose in this field, and I'm like, I can see it.
I mean, I can definitely see it. I also could see Rose just being not competitive. He's leaned so heavily on the putter at times, but he has shown his best form. It's been sporadic, but it's been at the big time tournaments, 8th at the PGA, 7th at the Masters. Didn't have it at the US Open, but this and the US Open are just different. So I don't mind it. I'll probably get into more trouble for going kind of backwards with Fleetwood. I bet Fleetwood already. That it's just lost money, but live and learn. Not a bad range though overall. I think the 8s is pretty juicy.
Yeah, you can really construct a decent team here. Like if you wanted to go Spieth, 3 guys in the 8s, you could still make a team like that work. Because listen, if I'm gonna play Spieth, I'm gonna play Reed. Straight up. If this is what I'm going with as sort of my mantra of the types of players that I think that can win here. I mean, if we're talking about creativity around the greens and not being afraid to commit to shots, besides Spieth, Reed is second on that list.
Yeah, Jenner, he a little forgiving off the tee. I get, and I'm not worried about this, but were you a little surprised that Reed hasn't really done much in Open so far?
He was top 10 at Portrush, so I think it was Portrush, wasn't it? His last time out. Maybe I have
that was
wrong.
his first. That's his best one.
Yeah, but it was sort of like it was, so his past 4 Opens are 10th, 28th, miscut, and 12th and 20th. So he has 3 top 20s in the past 5 years. He's come inside the top 34 of the past 5, and he has a top 10 in his last appearance. This is a lot tracking like he did at majors in general. Like there was a big thing on him for a while, and it happened to Bryson too. It's like, well, how can you pick these guys to win? They've never come inside the top 10 of a major before. Reed goes out at Quail Hollow, posts the top 10, then wins the Masters the next year. And then Bryson puts up the top 10 at the PGA Championship, wins the US Open his next time out. So I'm not really worried about Reed with that. It feels like his game should be super linksy. I mean, he's an honorary member lifetime of the European Tour.
Well, got to factor that in as well. But, I mean, I think, how he plays generally should translate even better than the results. And that's a good thing if you think that's true. Casey's another one. I don't really associate his game per se with links, but I also think he's just playing at such a level. I worry about the putter a little like I always do, but I don't hate it. I think that I would prefer Reed and Cantlay, but again, these are targets that are certainly not just easy cross-offs. That's at minimum.
I'm good with passing on Casey here. It feels a lot like Louis. He's experienced a lot of his success at St. Andrews on British Open style courses, a place where the driver really makes a big difference. And not to say that it doesn't make a difference here. Obviously it does, but driving the ball well is always going to be an advantage. But it seems like on average, like less so at this course rather than other ones. So I'm probably out on him. I was more looking... I don't know what to do with Finau. That's a pretty good price. Zalatoris, I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. Just no idea with that guy. Hideki coming off COVID. I mean, he actually has a really good Open style of game. I just don't know where he's at. Scheffler's the one I was kind of looking at. Him and Webb at 83 and 82. Like, Webb kind of fits the profile of the other guys that I'm talking about, doesn't he?
He fits the profile, definitely. Again, off the tee won't be punished. Immaculate short game, can get creative, makes the putts. What's up with Webb though? Besides me playing him a little more than usual, which causes extreme turmoil on people's games, are you worried about like an injury, or you just think he's just been a little off lately?
I think that he's been a lot off lately. He's losing off the tee, which is sort of regressing back to old Webb before he became a top 10 player in the world. Like, essentially, his irons were so good, his putting was so good, he just needed to be break even off the tee. And in fact, he got a little bit better than that. And over the past 2 months, we've seen a precipitous drop off. Now, he played the PGA Championship, the US Open, and was absolute crap at Rocket Mortgage, which is probably the more concerning one of them all, I think. Like, I didn't expect him to be good at the US Open.
No, it was more just going to a really easy situation, bounce back, and it was just not there. So Will the ownership crater? Yeah, it probably will. And it's a pretty interesting range. Finau is a tough one, Webb. And you mentioned Scheffler, who he's someone that can rack up a lot of birdies. Kind of reminds me in that Hovland camp. I think there's situations where he could get into a lot of trouble, but there's also situations where he could have a streak on a day where, there's only 2 or 3 amongst the entire field.
The one thing with Scheffler is I actually don't mind his around the green work. I think that he's not a bad scrambler. He just happens to be kind of a crappy putter from time to time. But again, that can flip. He can be one of the better putters in the field like every third event, and he gains so many. So I think he has like sort of like well-rounded game where he can feasibly get himself into trouble, and he will make enough birdies to probably even it out over time. I actually kind of like him more than I like Hovland.
I mean, for the price difference, yeah, I don't know. Do you see, they're not the same player by any stretch, but sometimes with Sanjay, I see that where it's like he has no glaring weakness, but he also doesn't do anything to like an extreme where it's like, all right, Hovland, his off the tee game is unreal. Scheffler's just really good in most areas.
I worry that he's never played in an Open Championship before. I do think that having like some experience would help him out here, but maybe playing the Scottish this week and playing okay, although that course is playing super easy.
Yeah, that's the thing over there. You can go, I would assume it's not like I play links golf, but you see it and you get some biases of how, and then it can flip and it's the same course and it's totally different. So like they're destroying that. It could be, a direct 180 when they get here, and that's going to require a whole different skill set.
Well, even looking at the past 2 years at the Renaissance Club, the winning score was, I believe, minus 22 the first year it was there in a playoff, and had a bunch of guys up around minus 20. And last year when it was played, like Aaron Ryan, Tommy Fleetwood went to a playoff at minus 11. Like that just shows you how much weather can impact this tournament. And I feel like you have to anticipate that at some point.
No, you definitely do. And that's where, again, you have to build with several, like I will build some teams with hurricane conditions in mind. And then I will build some teams with Scottish Open like conditions in mind and just react accordingly. So got to separate those players. Then you've got Fleetwood. I don't know what bucket he fits into besides just like bad players that I can't quit. He was the runner up to Shane Lowry a couple years ago. That's all I got.
Well, here, looking at this, so players who have made the cut in every appearance the past 5 years at the British Open in a minimum of 3 starts. Spieth, Stenson, Rose, Finau, Brooks, Noren, Ricky, Kuchar, Webb, Willett, Xander, and Lee Westwood. Any interesting names on there for you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some names in there. If Stenson continues that streak, that would be disturbing. But Westwood's a guy. I don't think this is the best course for him per se. And he kind of used all his run good in Florida. But I mean, it is a technical. It makes me almost. This guy is in the 8s. What do you think of Adam Scott?
That was kind of where I was going with this. Someone who obviously should have won an Open Championship. And then Big N came and took it from him. Or actually, he gagged it away, essentially. I don't know what to do.
After, right?
I don't really know what to do with him is the weird thing about it. Like he's putting out of his mind and not doing anything else well. He's like the bizarro Adam Scott right now.
Super bizarro, but this bizarro world Adam Scott in theory would be a better suited open guy. I mean, you be good with your putter, make those 6 to 10 footers around the green. He's got to be a little crisper and certainly doesn't want to get into trouble, but no one's going to be talking about him. I think Adam Scott is an interesting target in the lower 8s.
He is most definitely going to be the lowest owned of all of these guys, unless people really give up on Justin Rose, but I do think that the Brits all get a bump at the British Open. Like people are just like, oh, they want to win it. It's like, of course they want to win it. They want to win every fucking tournament. So that's not a thing, but people will play it that way.
100%. 100%. There's no doubt people and I get it. They will get an artificial boost.
What other stats do I have here? Players with at least 2 top 20 finishes in the past 3 Open Championships. Spieth, Rory Brooks, Stenson, Zach Johnson, Justin Rose, Tony Finau, Molinari, Francesco, that is, EVR, Kuchar, Noren, Xander, and Charlie Hoffman, of all people.
Wouldn't have got that if you gave me yeses. But I mean, again, I think it's just a lot of adaptable. That's the number one thing. Of course, you got to be good, but like adaptable players is a huge thing here, because you might have one round where it's time to really rack up the birdies. You might have another round where shooting 72 or 73 could be okay. And I think that the ability, well-rounded game, it could go a long way here, but it's just tricky with this mid-range with a tournament like this. There's a lot of names coming up that I could see getting in contention, but the miscut equity is also pretty high.
Well, let's talk sevens then, because I don't know how rosters are necessarily going to be constructed this week. I think there's just a lot of people who want to just glom on to the top, and I can see why. Like from Patrick Reed and up, you can make a very compelling case for all of those guys. Then it gets a little bit dicier, and even in the sevens, like it gets kind of dicey pretty quickly. Like you got Fitz, then the defending champion golfer of the year, Shea Lowry, Cameron Smith, who ideally should be really good here, but fuck,
Yes.
It's been bad. Neiman, who I bet to win back in December at 150 to 1. I think that might be all the Neiman exposure that I can handle at this course. Unless it becomes one of those lineups where you play JT and Morikawa, like Neiman fits in perfectly with those lineups. But if it's tricky whatsoever, it might get a bit tough for him. Day, Leishman, Sungjae with Drew, Sergio, Answer, Wolf. Like, I like Westwood. I like Francesco Molinari. I like Bezadenhout, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out how Daniel Berger is only $7,400.
So this is one of the guys that, going all the way back to the top with Rom. Daniel Berger is clear salary relief, fits the game, everything about him. He's going to be popular, but it's warranted. He's just coasting along at John Deere, getting his reps in. The harder part for me is at the beginning. Fitzy and Cam Smith, who I never play, I think it's kind of an interesting bounce back because the form has regressed. Neiman and Sergio are in the other bucket of like extremely easy. And even then, I don't know if this is the move. And then you've got Leishman, who I have no idea how you handle someone like that. He's a great tournament play just because he's erratic, but it's hard to peg what you're going to get out of him.
Day was really the interesting one for me because the ball striking has come back a little bit, but the one thing that has never gone away with him, like the putting is back too, which is great. And that's how he has, back-to-back top 15 finishes at super easy events, mind you, but his around the green game is still immaculate. And if it becomes just a -5 to -7 type winning score, I feel like that's sort of the range that Day needs to be in right now.
Definitely think that would help him. I don't remember exactly, and this probably shouldn't factor in, but Day's miscut, I think it was at the last one at Portrush, was one of the most absurd, insane things I've ever seen. He made like 6 or 7 consecutive bogeys on Friday to miss that cut. That makes me angry. I'm still a little salty about that 2 years later, but I mean, I just don't know what you're going to get with this putter. I've talked a lot about this, him and Ricky, when they were at their height of their powers, is because they were the best putters in the world. If he's going to conjure that back up, yeah, Day's probably a bargain price. I don't know. Is Travelers and Rocket Mortgage just a little blip on the radar, or has he found something again?
Feel like I said, if it's not going to be, and sometimes the Open gets to like -18 and you have to go out and attack pins and make birdies. And in a situation like that, like Neiman is live. So if you want to play it that way, I get it. But I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I actually don't mind Day I'm going to play him as a tournament play. I think that's sort of like the Louis of this major. He's the typical Louis pricing. No one wants to play him. And theoretically, he has the right skill set to be really good here. Before he missed that cut at Portrush, he'd made like 8 Open cuts in a row.
That is well said about the Louis thing. Like, this is always where Louis is. He's like 3% owned. No one plays him, and then he comes out of nowhere. I'm telling you, though, that Portrush miscut, only Jason Day could do that. What about Answer?
Well, there's a few ways you can look at this because he tends to play really well in the wind. His win is in Australia at like a quote-unquote linksy style course. He can play difficult courses well. He's going to hit all the fairways. I do wonder about his short game from time to time. I don't know. Like, he's on that fringe of me of guys I want to play, but I am going to play Westwood. I'm going to play Brendan Grace. And I'm probably going to play Harris English. Those are probably the 3 guys like for sure that I'm playing from these low 7s. And obviously you can't play everyone, but he's sort of on that short list with Berger, with Bezadenhout. That's kind of it. Maybe Fowler. I know you're going to play Fowler, but I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I'm going to play Fowler. I'm not in love with it because I'm not that gone yet, but I mean, Ricky in theory should be good. And then my Noren is, I don't know what's up with Noren though, because he's really flipped his game in some regards, but he's still at the end of the day, great short game around the green. One of the many guys that we reference, he's been over here for a while now, but I mean, when he was at the height of his powers, it was certainly in Europe, and he's got plenty of experience at places like this.
What do you think Max Homa's track record in major championships is?
I would have, so I know this because I just looked it up before the show, but I would have thought it was okay. I didn't realize it was as dire as it is.
He is 1 for 8 in cuts made in major championships, and his best finish is the 2019 PGA Championship when he was T64.
And I believe he doesn't have any links experience that I could find.
He has no Open Championship appearances. It's funny because I don't necessarily want to write him off because I think that Max Homa is a really good player, but I just look at all of these other now we're getting into Euro range. Which random Euro do you like? For pure sentimentality, and I think that he's playing okay golf, and I think that he's been gearing his entire year around this and the Ryder Cup. I might bet Poulter to win.
Ooh, Poulter. Huh. That is not what I thought you were going to say. I mean, makes cuts. He's got.
Well, you thought I was going to say Guido, right?
Yeah.
Guido's
and I was going to say Wiesberger, my boy, who's right there. Field of Burn. Yeah, Poulter's tough. Poulter and Matt Wallace, I'll tell you, that's another guy I have difficulty with. I think Poulter makes sense in terms of stability. I just don't know exactly. Yeah, I guess he can get in the mix, especially if it's very difficult. But I'd rather play Grace and Noren. I'll say that much.
I like Grace. I like Poulter. Like I said, English at 73. Westwood, I'm going to have some exposure to. And Seabez, it's going to be hard for me not to talk myself into him. He's playing well at major championships that he shouldn't be playing well at. And this is one he should play well at. So why not go for it at $7,400? But there's a couple who was super interesting is Henley.
Yeah, Henley's difficult. I liked him at the U.S. Open a little bit, and he held on as long as he could. He's playing well. He is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly where he falls on the balance scale of how hard I would want it. Certainly he needs to lean on the irons, but really at the end of the day, what he needs to do is get back to his spike putting weeks. That's what makes and breaks Henley.
Do you trust? Do you trust the tournament history? Because I mean, obviously these courses aren't exactly the same, but there's a particular style that the RNA sets up a lot. There's a particular style the USGA sets up for U.S. Opens that are similar traits amongst a lot of these courses. But if you just look at it, Cooch and EVR both are good at these tournaments.
They know how to navigate. EVR is one of the more difficult ones. I don't know what is going on. I mean, he's just in a major slump, and that's putting it lightly. He spiked for 1 week. Then he played the U.S. Open, so no shame in missing that cut. Man, flat 7 for him. I don't know if I can do it.
It's tough.
I really don't.
Yeah, I thought he withdrew from the John Deere, and I just assumed he was going to play in the Scottish, and he was supposed to be in the field, and he just never showed up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his deal is. Do you think there's any reason if you build a very aggressive, counterintuitive team with say Bryson and Hovland,
are you going to
consider using
Bubba? I know he's playing well right now, but you got to go look at his Open Championship resume.
It's not good. Would be the too long didn't read version. Yeah, I don't think I can ultimately do fine. Maybe Woodland then.
Woodland, yes, I can most definitely see that because I think that his game kind of fits. We always like Woodland at shorter courses a little bit more. He starts hitting that stinger off the tee. He doesn't need to use sometimes when he is asked to use his incredible length, it actually gets him into a lot of problems. And this way he can rein it back just a little bit. I worry that he's one of these weird guys when it comes to scrambling and around the green games. He's either the worst guy in the field or he chips everything in.
That could be useful. I mean, again, this is going against the grain. I think the prudent move is to go to the normal people. I would say go to Wolf on that team, but I don't think I could do that no matter what. he could have some issues over there.
He could, or this could be a perfect kind of layout for him. It's sort of a mystery when it comes down to Matthew Wolff. Like Kokrak is super cheap. He's playing well. I saw people even talking to him. He's like, "Yo, he's 125 to 1. He's 150 to 1." I just worry he gets into a bunker, and that's the last we ever see of Jason Duffner or Jason Kokrak. He just retires there.
Yeah, it could be his new home in one of those pop bunkers. Yeah, I mean his putters bailed him out, but his around the green game, as far as I know, he's not going to be able to putt it out of the bunker. So that's going to be, and then another Euro. He's not playing good. What about, I was going to say Willett, but I don't think that's really relevant.
I mean, Willett's made every cut at the Open the past 5 years.
Maybe it is relevant then. This is where, again, I think depending on how many teams, if you're really condensed up top, you have the luxury of kind of spraying and praying in the lower sevens. And these guys, it's not to say they can't get in the mix. A lot of even Sneds, like I took a long look at Sneds. Don't think I'll ultimately get there, but if they're in the right draw and they fit everything I want, they may be forced into a couple of my lineups.
Spraying and Praying was actually one of the best priest-themed porns I've ever watched, just as an FYI out there if you want to go look it up. But Zach Johnson would be that guy for me that you're talking about in that range.
Yeah, ZJ. I mean, there's a lot of them here. You've got Cooch, Stenson, Sneds. A lot of them are in that same bucket of guys that have kind of navigated. Even Harmon in a little different, but like in theory, this should fit what he wants to do. I think of this range, this really targeted range, I would be with you with Zach Johnson over most of them. I'm going to give a look to Wiesberger though. That's a guilty pleasure. It's not Austria, but it's close.
It's not really close.
It's close enough. He doesn't have to fly there. He could drive if he wanted to.
I suppose that's a long drive. I took the train from Munich to Vienna. That was like a 3-hour train ride.
Well, maybe he's getting some reps. He's probably over there. Is he? I should know this. Is
he's
he
in the
Scotland?
Yeah, he's in the Scottish.
Okay.
He is feeling the burned. He is making
playing the weekend.
Oh yeah, he's playing the weekend. He got through.
Look at that. He's going to be all systems go.
Oh, my guy, Scrivel Me Timbers held on too. Jason Scrivener.
I have not even looked at, the only thing I saw from the Scottish was that guy stealing Rory's club.
That was amazing.
That was weird.
I just like Rom is just laughing the entire time.
Yeah, Rom is in just pure, he doesn't care about anything right now.
Poor Rory's caddy tried to get the club head back from him. And
yeah, Harry needs to, I don't know. That was a weird, yeah, that guy, I respect that. He gave the club back, but then he tried to steal the dog or whatever that thing was.
Well, there's a weird thing too. Like I saw the reaction to it, and it was mainly from Americans. Like, "Oh my God, the security at this place! Like, they should take that guy out. Like, there should be snipers around." It's like, man, what an American reaction to things.
Yeah, we do love our swift cheaters justice casino style. But yeah, I don't know. That was just weird. That guy was freakishly calm.
Yeah, I think it made like Rory was like, why is this guy so calm? Like, I'm just gonna stand here and like let security eventually come and figure it out. But I don't know, maybe it just feels like it's different in Europe with like this type of stuff where it's like, oh, this drunk guy stumbled onto the course.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, it's just, there's a lot of things I'm sure that are very, very different. I think of soccer a lot where they're like shooting flares and doing crazy stuff in the stands. But yeah, I mean, getting back to Byrne, he is in Scotland getting his reps. And there's some guys as we work down that I'm probably going to sprinkle in that are mostly predominantly Euro guys.
There is an American that you could potentially go to in the 6K range that you're not going to like, Ben, but he's pretty deep. He's pretty, I mean, Stuart Sink, I think has to be in consideration. But beyond his Open Championship like resume, having a win, I mean, it wasn't here, but it was where was it? Not Thornberry. What the fuck is it? Turnberry. And it's actually Keegan Bradley. Good Open player, sneaky. It's his best major.
Is he? Doesn't he have a major?
Yeah, he won the PGA Championship in his first like ever major start.
Of course he did. Keegan Bradley, good Open. Why would that be? Maybe. No. Do you worry that maybe like that some of it is because of his driver and that will be negated a little bit here?
Maybe, but he's just such a good iron player at the same time. And the around the green game has really improved this year. Like from like what people talk about with like Victor, because he's not the worst guy on tour anymore. It's like, oh, he's really improved. Keegan's actually really improved around the greens.
Mm-hmm. No, it's sometimes you don't see the improvement with a guy like Keegan because he hits a lot better around the green shots and they don't show up on the scoreboard because he misses the 4-footer instead of the 12-footer. It's all the same. So I do think that may be undervalued or underrated, I guess you could say. This is, I mean, there are guys here, there's no doubt. It's just like I looked at Kisner, who's heating up, particularly with the putter.
I think that he has kind of the perfect game for around here. There's a couple of them. Like it's Kisner, Keegan. I mean, I wasn't joking about that. I don't know if I can quite get there because it still terrifies me to no end. The one I was going to go to, as crazy as it sounds, is Bland. Why not?
Wow. Okay. I thought you were going to say Patty Harrington.
No, like Bland is killing it again at the Scottish. Like, I get that he's 48. He's a journeyman, but he's in the middle of something right now, and I want to be there for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just outrageous. Like, what is going on here? He's got to be, even though he is in the midst of like a ridiculous run, he's going to be like 1%, right?
Yeah, like I can't see anyone, like especially with some of the other names that are down here. Like I mentioned, like
Schwab right next to him.
I mean, there's no way you're not 100% Schwab. Schwab and Grillo at 67. You can play Euro Grillo, and American, I guess, Argentinian Schwab, all both in the same lineup, and play any other 4 guys you want. Like that's your lineup, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got the Austrian connection with Byrne. You got Griot, who, I don't know, he played the Challenge Tour at one point. He's done some things. His around the green game, I think, might be the worst in the entire field. And that could be problematic, but you know what? It's still Griot. I hope it's easy because he's not going to be able to scramble. Being serious for a second, looking at guys that maybe fit harsher conditions. What about Matt Jones?
He's burned me so badly every time that I've been on him, and every time I'm not on him, he's great. So it's sort of like
good around the green.
Yeah, it's like you were talking about with Xander at the top. Like if I'm on Matt Jones, like stay away. If I'm not, like be on Matt Jones. But I agree with you.
There's certain guys like
he's
that.
Good. He's good.
Like,
he's good in the wind. He's good in difficult courses. He's great around the greens. Like he is one of those guys. I was actually looking if you want someone to fill out those Morikawa, Thomas, Neiman type lineups, Marcus Klindholt is good with his irons, man. Like he's really good.
Marcus Klindholt, you say?
Yeah. And he is, right. I think he's actually like doing well in Scotland. Yeah, he's T11 in Scotland right now. He had an epileptic seizure like 3 months ago, and he's just fighting his way back. He had one really good round in Ireland in his return and one bad one. He missed the cut. Now he's put together 2 really good ones, but like he is one of the premier iron players on the European Tour when he's right.
I would have bet everything that I own that guy didn't have a picture, and I would have been broke. Okay. I mean, for same mileage, you guys, I don't know. I have no idea what Joel Dahman will do in this type of setting, but I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be popular. Worry about the putter, but ball striking wise, he's one of the better players in the 6s.
Yeah, I don't know really what to do. He did win in like harsh conditions in Puerto Rico.
He's got the hat.
He's got the hat. Yeah, he's going to be very well equipped to stay dry. He withstood the Rafael Campos fist pump on the 72nd hole to win that event in Puerto Rico. So, or was it Corrales? Whatever fucking one it was. I don't know. I'm not going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it's going to depend, on how aggressive I am up top. And there's still some like very normal people. That's what's weird about the 6s. It's almost interchangeable. Like the upper 6s to the mid and even some of the lower 6s. There's still names that to me could be flat 7, and I wouldn't think it's crazy.
I think that Ryan Fox is one of those guys. Just he's a link specialist. He's $6,600. He's had some nice runs in Ireland. Missed the cut last week in Ireland, but he had a pretty nice run going before that on the European Tour. Like I'm not afraid of playing Ryan. I feel like at U.S. Opens and British Opens, he's a guy I tend to play.
Bryson needs to study that guy for this tournament because he is a mega bomber, but he, for some reason, he seems to pick his spots nicely because he does have a really nice open pedigree and track record, and his game is kind of correlated to that. So I don't mind Ryan Fox. What about the Juice Man?
Nah.
Oh.
Does he perm his hair? He has to, right? His hair doesn't look like that naturally.
It would seem that he takes his winnings from the Scandinavian mix hosted by Henrik and Annika and uses it for hair things. That would be my guess. Yes.
That makes sense. No, I'm going to be off the Juice Lutner this time around.
That's unfortunate.
Are you going to be on him?
No, but I like him. I just don't see his putting, and when you have no putter and no short game, it's such a lethal combo in a bad way that I have trouble clicking you in at something like this. I would rather just look for, someone who has at least one of them. There's a couple guys. I do have some sleepers down here though.
Well, there's one guy who seems wildly mispriced. And it's Sam Burns. It's Sam Burns at $6,300. Like, is he actually going to be? Will people have enough guts to say, "Hey, I think that his range of outcomes is so huge. Like, his miscut potential, I think, is pretty high. He's on the number. He's actually tied with Ryan Fox on the number in Scotland as we speak right now. They may or may not make the cut. You know who else is on the number at the Scottish? Your boy from Poland, whatever the fuck that guy's name was.
Poland.
Yeah, remember him from the U.S. Open? You were like, who's this guy with the Polish flag next to his name?
Yeah, I remember talking about that, but
Adrian Mirnok.
Oh yeah, okay. See, he's repping it for the Poles. Good job, go Poland.
My God, this entire on the number T62 right now with holes to play is like the Ben Rasa special. You got Thunder Bear, Francesco, Fox, Wallace, Callum Hill. I'm sure you like him. Your Polish friend Sam Burns. Oh, man, Tapio Pukinen is there, too. Laurie Cantor, Wacky Valimaki. Is he in the field? No, he's not. I would have played Wacky Valimaki, but obviously...
You do like that guy.
He's not an Asian-American sensation. Kurt Kitayama, Juice Luton, all at 2 under.
Kurt Kitayama's in this field.
Yes, he is.
What about... It doesn't matter what tournament we're talking about. I say the same thing every time. What about CT Pan?
I mean, you could play Chris Kirk for cheaper.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, Chris Kirk is pretty damn cheap.
Like you could play Sam Burns for like $300 cheaper, who's exponentially better.
So Sam Burns is in a different category for me. He makes total sense, but I think there's a pretty good chance he misses the cut. And if he's popular, I may be willing to say, you know what, more like it's a coin flip. He's not like a free square. He's just underpriced, and he opens up the rest of your lineup. Kirk, CT Pan, they're going to be 1% owned probably.
Yeah, I'm good. It really depends on the ownership projection with Burns. Like, do you think that he cracks double digits down here? Because
I do.
I do too.
That makes it, even though he's a good play, that's where you got to separate it a little bit. Like, he's still a very logical play. I would probably take 1/5 to 1/8 of the ownership on Chris Kirk versus him, though.
Chris Kirk, you can give your boy Poom, shake the room.
What about? And this is one where I think obviously this is a Millie play only. What about the kid from Japan, Kanaya?
It wasn't Kanaya I was looking at. It was Hoshino, or is he in this? Yeah, he's $6,100. Rikua Hoshino. I think he's not as. I mean, I think he's only 25, but he's like legit good. And like I think he made the cut at. Let's see.
How does he have a picture? What is going on here? You click people and they always have a picture. None of my guys have pictures.
U.S. Open 26, missed the cut at the PGA Championship. He gained 8.2 strokes on approach at the U.S. Open. He gained 3 strokes on approach. He is horrendous around the greens. So maybe that takes him out of contention. But I think he's actually a pretty good player. Watch him at the Olympics, by the way.
Man, my guy was short-lived. Kanaya got just one-upped by whoever this guy is. Sad.
Kanaya is $6,500 too.
He's playing okay though. Like, he was at the Irish Open. He's done some things, got some pedigree over there.
What about I think this is where I'd rather go with like the random Euro route down here, like Marcus Armitage. Like, he's playing well.
I mean, these are guys, I think, again, you're going to be drawing to a skill set. I think his nickname's like the Bullet too, which is pretty sick. Harding is there. He was the super putter. I don't mind these guys. Again, I think it's going to depend on how often I try to take. If I go with Rom, who's my next guy? Is it north or south of like JT? I think that'll determine how often I go down to the mid sixes.
And I think you can go low in a tournament like this, as opposed to
You definitely can.
like as opposed to the U.S. Open and the Masters. Obviously, top 50 in tie, top 60 in ties. This is the same as the PGA Championship. It's top 70 in ties this week. And I mean, that's a marginal difference. It's 5 more guys, but that opens up a whole nother potential other number for the cut to be at the same time too. When you look at it, there's no MDF, so anyone who gets through is going to be playing both the rounds. And just with experience from this tournament, you know there's going to be 20 absolute random people who make the cut, and like 5 of them will be in contention on Sunday somehow.
You see crazy guys every single year at the Open. You see 1 or 2 guys where you're just like, who? And that doesn't mean it's free reign to just play whoever you want down here, but I'm not going to shy away from taking a couple of these lesser known players who maybe don't get the spotlight, or wow, Lucas Glover is here. Anyway, and maybe take some shots on those type of players, because with the right conditions and the right tee time draws, there's no doubt that they can at minimal find the weekend.
Like Johan Verman, he's playing well again in Scotland. He just came second at the Irish Open 2 weeks ago to Lucas Herbert, who's another guy you can probably look at. We didn't even mention, like, you going to play the Bobby Mack Scottish angle?
Nah, I'm not gonna. All my favorite Scottish golfers are not like, I'm a Richie Ramsey kind of guy.
Isn't he like 900 years old?
He's possibly older. Grant Forrest, Connor. This is one of them's named Connor. I like those guys.
Oh, I mean, guys can still get in from the Scottish Open. There's a Scottish guy up there right now, David. I am the law. We can call him Judge Dredd. That'd be a nice little story to have him in there.
Judge Dredd. Who?
David Law.
Okay, I see. That makes more sense now. I didn't hear his last name. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some real slappies that are late ads here, but I don't think I'm going to be going with the Bobby Mack. If I do, maybe I'll just make an all lefty lineup with him and Bubba and other left-handed people. I
think my favorite guy is from the very low end. Kirk, I could probably be talked into. Burns, I think the ownership is going to be too high. I'll probably just fade him. I like Jason Scrivener. I like Ryan Fox and Marcus Armitage. I can probably get behind here, along with Bland in the 8,000. Taking old dudes. Yeah, man, you are. If you're going to get that crazy, I'm going to take my Japanese, not an amateur, but Takumi Kanaya as my deep 1% sleeper in the mid sixes. I want to see. One of them is up to. I mean, I should know these guys by part, but they just don't play enough on the PGA Tour to see them. One of them is up to. Let's see. Kanaya's up to number 85 in the world rankings. Played the last 2 weeks on the European Tour, both top 30 finishes. Not bad. Missed the cut at Memorial. Missed the cut at the PGA Championship. Is he playing? I don't know if he's playing in Scotland or not, but I can effort that for us. It looks like he is playing, but now I can't find him on the sheet. Great. Doesn't go that low. Let's see. Where is he at? It's telling me it's here, but it's not here. Maybe he's not actually playing in this event. The search feature is not the best. No, he is not playing. So he is not. So it's good. He's well rested. He's probably already getting his reps in at wherever the hell this is. I almost called it Portrush, St. George. Weirdly, like, do you think some of the Japanese players are kind of overlooking this a little bit? I was thinking about that, not just with them, but with, some of the guys with the military service and other guys going over it. Potentially, but he's a young kid. Like, this would be very, very important as well. It's not the craziest thing. I think that's a fair point. And again, I'm not saying hit your wagons. This guy's not going to determine how my week goes, but he could find his way into a couple lineups. Yeah, I actually think that he's the one who's not qualified for the Olympic team right now. I think it's Hoshino, who's the other guy with Hideki who's in there. They should
have Tanihara do the opening ceremony.
Man, Tanihara was like good at the British Open. Like that's a guy you wanted to play. You know who has a
Yes.
T11 finish at a British Open? Your actual guy, 4chan.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is he here?
Oh yeah, he's playing. He's like $6,100.
There he is, 6,200. Yeah, 4chan, as you call him. And he's good. Well, as I bring up every time, because I always confuse them, apologies, but Kim is not here. He is, I think, still suspended.
Yeah, well, just looking at it right now, like Johan Vermeen's actually only $6,100. I thought he was more expensive than that. Like that's a really good price for a guy who is kind of on a mini heater right now for him.
He's from the U.S.?
Yeah, he's U.S.
Again, I know this is one of the few tournaments of the year, you know, when we talk about the PGA, you've got 25 guys at the bottom who have virtually no chance. When we talk about the Masters, you've got a lot of the older guys that realistically have no chance. The U.S. Open's the U.S. Open, but there's so many qualifiers that, I know, realistically, very difficult. This is the one tournament, the guys down here, not that say they're going to all play well because they're not, but there are names that I believe can hang in a lot more than we see at the other majors.
Like if Paul Lowry, I mean, that would be a stretch, but like if Darren Clark had a run here this year, that wouldn't shock me.
No, it's more that there's so many of them, and you know a couple are going to have a run. It's just for every two, there's 8 more that aren't, and it's just trying to separate who are the guys do you think that are most likely to do that. No different than any other week, but I absolutely will be expanding my player pool to go deeper into the sixes than I do on a normal week.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go too. So let's create a play the best plays lineup for the British Open. And
Okay.
I think it has to start with one guy, and it's Sam Burns.
Jan Kim.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jan Kim.
Yeah. Sam Burns. He's the obvious. Him and I'm going to throw in, I think Berger, yeah, is the other like glaring misprice.
So, but those two guys are going to be exceptionally popular, right?
Yes.
So if you throw in Burns and you throw in Berger, and that's how you start your lineups, you have $9,000 left per player. Like that wouldn't, like if you wanted to play those two guys knowing they're going to be really popular, you could play like a Hatton, Cantlay, Reed, Casey lineup with it if you wanted to.
Oh, start just like so low.
Yeah, like if you wanted to really jam it in, like you can play two 10K guys in this lineup and still be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I just put in Hatton, Cantlay, Reed, and JT.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
I'm going to go Rahm and Spieth as the next two guys in.
Okay.
So
So now we're going to need some real goblins.
And now we still have $7,700 left. Did you say answer? What's with you and answer? Yeah, I need two guys though. So I can go high-low here. Like I can go Harris English. You know what? I like Brendan Grace a lot. Do you like Brendan Grace?
Sergio. Yeah, I like Brendan Grace.
So now we have $8,100 left. The problem is that
Adams.
at that level, like
Nope.
it's like the crapshoot level.
Yeah, I like Adam Scott and I like Fleetwood, but they're not. They're in the possibly deranged plays lineup, not in the best plays lineup.
If we think about it like a best plays type guy, I think that Lowry and Fitzpatrick kind of fit that build. Like I feel like that they're safe enough.
Yeah, I mean Fitzy has not been. He's not at the level of like Ty Hatton's had his struggles in majors. Fitzy needs to start playing better in majors, but I actually think he's going to play just fine this week.
So we
leave
could
a couple hundred off.
Yeah, we could throw. Yeah, we could leave it. I mean, I don't care about filling out. It's not. I mean, we could also take John Rahm out of this lineup, play Xander as our top guy, and like really juice that up and potentially get back up to like Reed.
We were so close, just short of JT.
Does that actually not work? Because we could fudge it around the line a little bit too. Yeah, we get 94. 90. We could play Hatton. We go Burns, Berger, Xander, Spieth, Grace, Hatton. That's a pretty good lineup.
And leave some money, yeah.
I mean, we could even upgrade from either Grace or Berger if we wanted to. Another $400.
We could go get Answer.
I mean, that would make Paul's dreams from behind the camera, but I think I would prefer Berger.
Oh, I was saying from Grace.
Oh, from Grace? Like I think if I was gonna go up from there, Bezadenhout would actually be my favorite play.
Bez, yeah. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, of all the things that he's done, his most impressive finish to me is 31st at the US Open. Like, I don't understand how he did that. So,
and he was like kind of in the mix for a while too. Like that was like a bad, because he had a really bad final day at the PGA Championship. And this is something I like to see from guys too over time. Like you don't really notice it, but they're like in contention at majors and they kind of fizzle away. And you never really notice because they didn't make a big run at the end. But just being there after 3 rounds, like I think that's really going to help Henley. I think it's going to help Mac Hughes this time around. Like just having been there, that when they get there the next time, like they're a bit more equipped to handle it.
Smiley.
I mean, that's the Louis method. Just smile. Can you play the all smiles lineup? You can play Louis. You can play Victor.
Yeah, that is. I like this lineup. I think it's pretty damn good.
Well, that's a kiss of death. It's an 0-6 already. So it's
Xander,
Spieth, Hatton, Berger, Grace, Burns. It's not where I would get to with my lineups, but I think for a play the best plays, like safe-ish type lineup, I think these are some of the best values on the board.
Yeah, I mean, this is taking advantage of, to me, the 2 really inefficient pricing. And then up top, you've got 2 really stable guys, and then 2 solid targets with Grace and Hatton. And that's really how it comes together. You're going to have to tweak this for sure when you're trying to beat, 100,000 people.
Yeah. I mean, don't play it because I'm playing it. So you don't want to have to split the million with me. You just tweak one guy, and then all of a sudden, you don't have to split it with Ben and I. We don't want to split it 3 ways. So just take out one guy. You play answer in that one instead of Berger, and all of a sudden you're good to go. That's what Paul's going to do probably. Either way, Ben, what do you have going on this week at awesemo.com?
Yeah, obviously it's a huge week in the golf world, so we're going to have you covered from every angle, whether it's betting, DFS, all those things, the projections, the ownership, the tools that we need. And certainly I'll be on plenty of shows as we lead up, just like Pat, talking about the weather and the things that we need to know as we get more and more information.
I wouldn't spend too much time on the weather. I'm going to cover it briefly on Wednesday during my live chat, but I feel like the weather, along with like green type and stuff like that, I don't even know what it is at this fucking course. I never know what it is in Britain. I assume it's just like shaved down fescue, but I feel like it's such an easy talking point for us to do on these shows that people have now think that they're more important than they are. Not to say that they aren't important, but the level of analysis that goes into it, I think, is harmful at some point.
I mean, I remember pretty vividly multiple times. I don't even know if it was just, but like you mentioned that huge weather split. What was it, 2016?
Yeah.
I believe pretty confidently that wasn't something people were anticipating. Like, if anything, sometimes if there's a big weather edge, sometimes I will stack the opposite because guys that you like in that other wave are getting a huge discount, and sometimes you get punished. Other times the weather moves and now it's a wash and you've taken a huge advantage. So I agree. Some of those talking points can be actually more harmful when the pendulum swings too much.
Yeah, so as they say on conspiracy message boards, do your own research, okay?
That's right.
And you can do that on
Not
Fantasy
that I frequent.
Come on. I mean, that's why 4chan's your guy, but you're like 8chan Ben.
8chan. Yeah, I'm an 8chan guy.
But you can do all the research for golf yourself, at least, on fantasynational.com. Use fantasynational.com/Mayo. Get yourself 20% off. Highly recommend that you take advantage of that right now. It's the last time millions of dollars are going to be up for grabs in golf, probably in 2021. I can't guarantee that. They might have some huge FedEx Cup load. I don't know. And they're going to give a ton away for the Fantasy Golf World Championships. So you got to qualify. You qualify for that yet?
Ooh, I've taken a little break. I'm gonna pump up the volume and try to steal a seat as we get to the close here.
Yeah, I stopped. I play like the $44 entry, just giving my money away.
I've been so lucky over the years grabbing seats, and I've come in second so many times this year. It's just one of those years, but it only takes one. So I will try to get Grio to get me in this week.
Do you have to be there? I should know this because, my affiliation with DraftKings. Do you have to be there live in order to put in a team, or can you do it remotely?
I mean, I've qualified many, many years in a row, and they haven't had it like this. I would assume you could do it remotely. I wasn't planning on. I don't even know where it is. Where is it?
I believe it's in Jersey. I think it's at Liberty National this year.
Okay. Well, I don't know the specifics. I just want the cash. I don't particularly need to do anything else. If they just give me the first prize, I'll be more than content.
That's fair. So hopefully either Ben or myself or one of you out there wins $1 million, qualifies, gets all these seats, whatever it is. I'm rooting for you out there. Unless you're going directly head to head with me, I hope you do great. And I want to hear about it too. If you want to get into a draw for lots of cash giveaways, rate, review, and subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review and your Twitter handle or email address so I can contact you if you are indeed a winner of that giveaway. It does not take a lot of time to do. I put the link down in the description to make it even easier on you. If you've done it before, you can do it again. No big deal. Also, sub to the newsletter. It's free. It's another way to enter those cash giveaways. And follow me on Twitter at the PME, where I will have an announcement up there on Tuesday about even more giveaways that I have to get into the Millionaire Maker this week on DraftKings. Check out the NFL shows, runthesims.com, and play in the DraftKings Listeners League. Like I said, there's 5,000 spots, and those will fill up really quickly because it is legit the best tournament on DraftKings. I'm not lying about that. So you should probably play in it because there's no rake in it. All of the money entered in the tournament is going back to the people, and that's probably the only one you're going to find, especially in one this big with $75,000 of guaranteed money in the prize pool. So that link is down in the description as well. That will do it for me. Thank you all for watching. Get pumped for Open Championship Week. Okay? I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!